I tweeted out the pictures. You know that terrible, god-awful, old-ass AstroTurf field that was in the middle of the 4 practice fields out here in Ashburn? They finally got rid of it, B.
Good.
Do you know what the only hurdle to getting rid of that years ago was?
What was it?
Spending the money to get rid of it. There was absolutely
we know that the people before did not care about anything but preserving money when it came to making sure your team was better and taking care of themselves. That's what it was. So,
I mean, B, this is such a simple thing. So folks that have been out here should understand what I'm talking about. But if you stand, there's a number of offices on the back of Commanders Park, formerly Redskins Park, right? The head coach gets a dope-ass corner office. The general manager gets a huge office in the middle. The owner, the team president, they get these dope-ass offices
on the corner
that look out over the practice fields, right? And it's beautiful. I mean, it's open grass surrounded by woods. You got the field goal posts. You've got scoreboards. You've got tackling dummies. Like, if you are into football, the view is so cool, except for this incredible eyesore of an AstroTurf field that had the old logo on it that they never even removed. They just tried to cover it up more than once, B. Like, at least a dozen times you would walk across that AstroTurf field to go watch the practices on the other field, and there'd just be dog poop. Like, that happened all the time. It was such an eyesore.
So it was dog poop, could have been fox.
Could have been fox, could have been deer, could have been bear. There was a bear congressional yesterday. And who knows? But, Brian, it was such a commitment to the status quo, to the arrogance of, we don't have to do anything, we're the Redskins. And it was just such a freaking
But that's
eyesore.
why they made money early on, because it was the Redskins. When they lost that luster of being the Redskins, then they showed that they weren't very good as business people.
Totally. And they just allowed it to continue, dude. And it was just a joke. And B, I mean, did you guys even practice on that?
Yeah, we did.
But by the end of your time in Washington, more places going to the newer turf?
Places we're going to, but I'm like, when I was in Washington, we did practice on it.
I mean, it's at least a decade obsolete, and probably more than that, probably 2.
Yeah, I mean, it could have been changed to a better surface or whatever, or you could have done something with it. But instead, like you said, they just tried to act like it wasn't there when it was. And they started utilizing putting tents and stuff on it to try to cover it. But you could walk in spots and you'll trip because the turf is starting to come up.
Dude, I mean, as long as I've been coming to practices out here, which is more than 10 years, it was nothing but it was basically like an impediment. Like, players had to walk past that field, which was the closest to the facility, to get to the other field.
Yeah.
And it's just, the only hurdle.
It just showed what was important,
Right.
And I think that's the ultimate thing where, like I mentioned before about the chairs that were being bought for offices, that was being discussed and promoted more than it was getting the things best for the players. Players need the best so they can be ready to go out there and play big time football. If they're not playing big time football, everybody doesn't make what they're supposed to make.
Totally, man. It's for folks that haven't seen it, I know that Cody just asked for a picture of it. I don't know how to provide that because I don't have a picture of the field, but it was such an eyesore, and it was like guys just had to walk past it. And the only thing that stopped it from happening was wanting to spend the money and recognize that something needed to be fixed. And for whatever reason, that never happened. And it's a positive step, man. It's such a simple little thing, but it is a positive
That is why
step.
we have new people in place doing the right things and moving forward. And we had it was trouble in paradise. Now paradise seems to be getting better. The trouble is starting to leave.
Right. Totally. It's something that is remarkable.
Mhm.
And I'm glad they did it, dude. Like, I can't. The other thing I'll confess is when you are here to watch practice and you have to stand on that AstroTurf,
Mhm.
it is at least 15 degrees hotter.
Oh yeah, it's hot.
Like it just bakes. It just bakes in the heat,
It's hot.
and that'll be a refreshing change too.
But you get used to
I mean,
it.
how hot was that to practice on?
I mean, back in the day, that's what you had. I mean, nobody cared about it at that point. You know, I think right now, as we know better stuff, is something you're concerned about. But back then, wasn't bad. I mean, I'm ready to go.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. That was I don't know. Landfill, do you share my excitement about getting rid of the turf field?
I mean, I think it's a positive to see that the new owners are willing to spend money to improve things out there. They're not just totally cheaping out like Snyder did.
Yeah. I think it's a very positive sign. And honestly, it's like we don't necessarily need this sign. We've kind of known this, that they are spending money and doing things to improve.
Mhm.
But this is a very visual example of it. And it definitely makes me